Python Demon. I just want to look fabulous. The 55th trial of the 81 Calamities. Protagonist, Python Demon. Weapon, light handle spear, snake tongue. Characteristics, lantern-like eyes, limited magical power, desires eternal youth. Weaknesses, combat ability weakens during the day. In the Seven Absolutes Mountain lives a demon who calls herself Lady. Despite her beautiful features and graceful figure, her true form is that of a large red-scaled python. Although she is a python, she loathes revealing her true form, finding it too ugly even for herself. Therefore, among the demons and animals in the mountain, the python demon always presents herself in a glamorous appearance. Since her transformation into human form, the python demon has been determined to become a social media celebrity, renowned for her beauty. To achieve this, she knew that looking pretty was the first step, followed by amassing a large number of followers. Initially, she turned the weaker demon in the Seven Absolutes Mountain into her first batch of fans, calling them the Lady Fan Club. Realizing this wasn't enough, she extended her influence to the mute animals. Under her violent threats, the animals had to cheer for her whenever she appeared, and the birds were coerced into scattering petals in the air to create a grandiose image of her as a top celebrity. Her actions made life in the Seven Absolutes Mountain a misery for all living creatures. But that wasn't enough. One day, the python demon came up with an even more dreadful idea. Although she had spent 1,000 years cultivating to achieve her human form, her magic wasn't strong enough to maintain this form all day. Hence, she usually hid in her python form during the day and only transformed into a beautiful woman to roam around at night when the energy was at its peak. However, she desperately wanted to appear as a beauty during the day too. After all, the Seven Absolutes Mountain was much livelier during the day, and if she could stroll around looking beautiful, her follower count might skyrocket. Realizing that her own cultivation progress was too slow, she became impatient and devised a sinister plan to capture people from the village of Tualuo at the foot of the mountain and drink their blood. To achieve the best results, she specifically targeted robust men, as their vitality would be equivalent to several years of her own cultivation. The first time she went to capture people, she was somewhat anxious. Under the cover of night, she created black mist and sandstorms to conceal her tracks and then revealed her true form to snatch a few people before returning to the mountain. After her first successful attempt, her confidence grew. Moreover, the effects of human blood were particularly potent. The next day, she noticed her skin had improved and her looks had risen to a new level. From then on, she completely abandoned her cultivation and regularly went down the mountain to capture a few people. By taking this shortcut, not only did she escape the hardships of her previous cultivation, but she also felt increasingly beautiful, almost rivaling the celestial maidens of heaven. As the python demon, busily adorned herself and fantasized about becoming a top celebrity in the demon world with her beauty, she had no idea that her impending disaster was approaching. Not only would she fail to achieve fame, but she would soon pay the ultimate price for the murders she had committed with her own life. Zubaji steals the spotlight. One day, the four travelers arrived at the territory of the Seven Absolutes Mountain. Since it was getting late, they decided to find a place to stay in the nearby Tualuo village. However, when they arrived, they found that every household in Tualuo village had its doors tightly closed, and there wasn't a single passerby on the street, even though it wasn't fully dark yet. The four found this strange, so they knocked on the door of a nearby house. An old man answered the door, looking haggard and tired. He greeted Tang Seng, who was at the front, with a slight bow, but when he saw the three followers of Sun Wukong behind him, he was immediately startled, as if he might faint at any moment. Tang Seng quickly stepped forward to explain, "We are travelers on our way to the west to seek the scriptures. These three are my disciples. Although they might not be handsome, they are kind-hearted." Before he could finish, the old man hurried to close the door, muttering, "Monsters, monsters, more monsters." Hearing this, Sun Wukong was the first to get upset. "How rude of you, old man. Monsters? Who are you insulting? Sun Wukong said, pushing the door open forcefully. To their surprise, the old man was also stubborn. Seeing Sun Wukong's assertiveness, he seemed ready to fight back, shouting, You? You took my son, and now you come knocking again. I, old Li, will fight you to the end. As he finished speaking, he picked up a nearby broom and swung it at Sun Wukong. But Sun Wukong easily jumped aside, avoiding the broom, and while scratching his head and laughing, he said, Ha ha ha, yes, the monster is cursing me. You must be the monster. Zubaji and Sha Wujing, seeing the situation, quickly rushed over to help the old man, worried that he might collapse from fear. However, when the old man got a closer look at Zubaji's pig-like face, his fear only intensified and his legs gave out, causing him to sit down on the ground. Tang Seng, witnessing the chaotic scene, could only shake his head in exasperation. He first ordered Wukong to stop, then instructed Sha Wujing and Zubaji to step back a few paces. Afterward, he approached the old man himself, gently helping him up and patiently explaining the situation again, eventually calming the old man down. Despite this, the old man still looked at Wukong and the others with wary eyes. When the old man learned that the four intended to continue their journey the next day, he urgently advised them to abandon the idea. He warned them that beyond Tueluo village lay a narrow and filthy pass known as Chishatong, filled with rotten persimmons and stretching for over 100 miles. Ordinary people couldn't make it through. As they were talking, a foul-smelling dark wind suddenly began to blow. The old man started trembling with fear, but Sun Wukong immediately picked up on the scent of a demon and eagerly brandished his Jingu Bang, ready for action. Seeing that the four travelers weren't frightened at all, the old man assumed they were unaware of the danger and thus fearless. He hastily explained, A monster. The monster is coming. Quick, hide inside. My poor son was taken by her. My poor son. Saying this, he couldn't help but start crying. He explained that a powerful demon had been living on the Seven Absolutes mountain and had started descending the mountain to capture people about half a year ago. The ones taken were always the young and strong men of Tueluo village, and once captured they never returned. This was why the village was now in a state of panic, with everyone staying behind closed doors. The old man's son had been taken just a few days ago. Upon hearing this, Wukong was immediately incensed that such a wicked demon was causing harm, and quickly asked the old man what the demon looked like and what powers it possessed. However, the old man couldn't provide any details, only saying that every time the demon appeared, it was accompanied by dark winds and black fog, so no one had ever seen what it really looked like. Just then, the stench in the air grew even stronger and the surroundings were enveloped in a thick, swirling black fog. Everyone realized that the demon was approaching. Wukong quickly instructed Sha Wujing to take their master and the old man inside to hide, while he grabbed Zubaji and charged out the door. Brother monkey, why are you dragging me along? You can handle this on your own. At that moment, Zubaji's stomach was growling, and all he wanted was to find something to eat in the old man's house. He had no desire to fight on an empty stomach. But Wukong didn't care. He called him a fool and dragged him out to the clearing. Just then a strong wind blew, and two red lights appeared in the black fog. Zubaji, curious, remarked, this demon is quite peculiar, even bringing two lanterns out. Wukong shot Zubaji a glance and said, You really are a fool, those aren't lanterns, they're its eyes. With that he raised his Jingu Bang and leaped forward, striking hard. The demon was momentarily stunned by the blow, but then retaliated by lashing out with two soft-handle spears at Sun Wukong. Zubaji exclaimed, What an interesting weapon. Wukong shouted back in frustration, Fool? Those are its forked tongue, this thing is a giant red python. He then swung his staff again, landing another heavy blow. After being struck twice, the demon was completely dazed. Zubaji finally got a clear look at it. The giant red python was covered in fiery red scales, stretching for miles, with a body as thick as a large water tank, and its forked tongue flicking in and out like two soft-handle spears. The terrifying sight left Zubaji unsure how to fight it, but fortunately, the demon was so frightened by the hits that it quickly turned into a gust of black wind and fled. The drawbacks of not chewing food properly. Wukong initially wanted to give chase, but then thought better of it and stopped. Seeing this, Zubaji grinned and asked, "Brother Monkey, are you afraid of snakes?" Wukong shot him a look and replied, "After all these years, there's nothing that scares me. I reckon this creature only dares to come out after dark, because it hasn't fully mastered its powers yet. Once daylight comes, we'll head up the mountain and destroy its lair." At this moment, old Li, having witnessed Wukong's strength, was overjoyed. He quickly gathered the villagers of Tualuo village and recounted how the two had driven the monster away, leaving everyone excited. It turned out they had previously pooled their money to hire many so-called masters to deal with the monster, but all had failed. They had given up hope, never expecting Tang Seng and his disciples to show up uninvited. Upon learning that Wukong and Baji planned to eradicate the monster the next day, the villagers of Tualuo village were extremely grateful and eagerly brought out their best vegetarian dishes to treat them. Baji ate his fill, but Tang Seng remained worried, fearing that the two might not be able to defeat the monster and would disappoint the villagers. Wukong, noticing his master's excessive concern, just winked and reassured him that there was nothing to worry about. While Wukong and the others were enjoying the villagers' hospitality, the python demon retreated to her cave. Exhausted from the earlier battle, she had reverted to her elderly form. Staring at her wrinkled face in the mirror, she nearly burst into tears. She quickly ordered a minion to bring her a bowl of human blood, and after gulping it down, she regained her youthful and beautiful appearance. Remembering the fierce monkey with the thunderous face, the python demon shuddered and thought, "Perhaps I should focus on cultivating instead of going down the mountain to capture people." As she was lost in these thoughts, she drifted off to sleep, only to wake up to the sound of Wukong shouting insults at her from the cave entrance. It turned out that at dawn, Wukong had dragged Baji along and set off to find the python demon. Following the foul smell, they quickly located her hideout. To lure her out, Wukong unleashed his talent for hurling insults. Sure enough, the python demon soon became enraged and charged out of the cave. However, it was daytime, and the blinding sunlight momentarily stunned her. Wukong and Baji seized the opportunity to attack her together. Seeing no way to escape, the python demon tried to flee again, but Wukong, moving swiftly, struck her tail with his staff. The giant red-scaled python writhed in pain, and Baji, relying on his strength, grabbed her tail, urging Wukong to strike freely. But then, to their surprise, the python suddenly opened her massive jaws and swallowed Wukong whole. Baji was utterly shocked, unable to comprehend how his usually fearless brother had been defeated so easily. Just as he was torn between avenging Wukong or fleeing to save his own life, he heard Wukong's voice coming from inside the python demon's belly. "Baji, let me show you an arch bridge." As soon as he finished speaking, Wukong began to cause chaos inside the demon's stomach, making her body arch like a long bridge. Realizing that Wukong had been swallowed on purpose, Baji burst out laughing and shouted, Brother Monkey, show me another trick." Hearing Baji's request, Wukong continued to jump and thrash around inside the python demon, causing her excruciating pain. She rolled around in agony and didn't even have a chance to beg for mercy before she died. In her final moments, she thought, "If you two had seen how beautiful I am in human form, you surely wouldn't have killed me." Afterward, Wukong and Baji entered the python demon's cave and found a few people from Tualuo village still alive, including old Li's son. They brought the survivors back down the mountain, where they were greeted by the villagers' cheers. Baji, of course, enjoyed another hearty meal. When it was time to part ways, the villagers escorted them to Chishatang, a narrow alley filled with rotting persimmons, where Tang Seng hesitated at the sight of the filth. To repay them, the villagers offered to clear a path, but with limited manpower, it would take a long time. Wukong, always quick-witted, came up with a solution. He suggested that Baji transform into his true form to clear the alley of the rotten persimmons. Baji, however, was reluctant. "Why should I be the one to do the dirty work?" he protested. Wukong quickly promised, "If you clear this Chishatang and let us pass through the Seven Absolutes mountain, you'll get the top credit this time." Hearing this, Baji thought to himself, Although I was once the marshal of the heavenly canopy, no one respects me since I became a pig. If I can solve a problem that even Brother Monkey can't handle, won't that prove my worth? With a loud roar, Baji transformed into a giant pig. He then charged ahead, rooting and devouring the rotten persimmons, quickly clearing the Chishatong and allowing the four to continue their journey to the Thunderclap Temple in the west. The 55th ordeal on their journey was named Blocked by Chishtong's Filth. It was thanks to Baji, acting as a pig-shaped bulldozer, that the problem was resolved, one of the rare occasions where he played a positive role in their quest for the scriptures.